Many imagine enlightenment as an escape, a removal from the world, a serene place in the mountains, away from people, from noise, from life. But Dogen's words are a clear bell in the fog. Enlightenment is intimacy with all things. It is not about separation. It is not about floating above the mess of life, untouched. It is about being fully, vulnerably, nakedly present with what is. That means the bitter taste of sorrow, the sting of rejection, the unexpected beauty of laughter. In silence, it means dishes to wash, bills to pay, loved ones to lose, and yet nothing held at a distance. We suffer not because life is painful, but because we resist what it brings. We keep life at arm's length. We seek to protect a false image of control. But the awakened one does not resist the river. They do not try to change the current. They step into it fully. They become the water. To be intimate with all things is to stop dividing the world into good and bad, into holy and ordinary, into what should be and what must be avoided. It is to breathe in a moment without wanting it to be different, to sit with a tree or a stranger or your own sadness and see that none of it is separate from you. This is not a metaphor. It is not poetry. It is the felt reality of awareness, prior to thought, prior to identity, prior to resistance. Dogen did not teach transcendence by avoidance. He taught returning to the present, to the body, to the breath, to the exact thing before you. And in that radical presence, everything becomes sacred. Not because it was changed, but because you were no longer separate from it. To be intimate with all things is not only to observe the world, but to feel its pulse within your own being. A tree is not just a tree. It is the breath you exchange with the air. It is the silence that teaches you to listen. Dogen understood that nothing exists independently, that every object, sound, thought, or being is not a thing out there, but a reflection in here, a mirror of your own consciousness. The sound of rain does not simply fall on the roof, it falls inside your awareness. It touches something you forgot was part of you, and for a brief moment, you are not separate. We don't see reality as it is. We see it through layers of habit, judgment, and memory. But when the mind stills, even for a breath, something else begins to shine through. Not a grand cosmic truth, not a mystical vision, but the ordinary, seen with extraordinary clarity. A teacup, a wrinkle on an old face, the warmth of sunlight on your skin. All of these, when seen without the filter of self, become gateways. You begin to understand the sacred is not in what we avoid, it's in what we finally learn to see. This intimacy isn't always gentle. It burns away illusion. To be truly present with life means being present with pain. Not dramatized, not rejected, but held without resistance. You don't become one with things, you already are, but the veil of thought, of belief, of identity makes you forget. Dogen spoke of practice not as a path to reach something, but as the full embodiment of realization, here and now. Zazen, sitting in meditation, is not a means to an end. It is the very expression of enlightenment. Not trying to fix, not trying to understand, just being with what is, fully, honestly, vulnerably. That is the real courage, to stop escaping, and instead, to enter. True intimacy dissolves the boundaries we once believed were real. The barrier between self and other begins to fade, not in some abstract philosophy, but in the raw experience of presence. You watch a candle flicker in a dark room. At first, you see the flame. Then, you feel the stillness around it. Then, you realize you are the stillness. The mind may ask, what does this mean? What is the lesson? What should I do? But in intimacy, the question dissolves. There is no you separate from the moment to ask anything. There is just the moment. Complete, silent, alive. Enlightenment, then, is not some ultimate knowledge, but the collapse of the knower. It is not something that happens to you. It is what remains when everything else falls away. To live in this state does not mean you avoid life's chaos. You still lose things. You still feel sorrow. But nothing clings. Nothing defines you. Because you are not a fixed entity. You are the awareness through which all of this flows. When Dogen said intimacy with all things, he invited us not to think about life, but to merge with life. Not to analyze the river, but to enter it, to feel its coldness, its current, to let it wash away everything that is not real. In this merging, you no longer seek experiences. You become the experiencer itself. Even the so-called spiritual path loses its urgency, because you realize there is no path, only steps taken now, only breath drawn now, only this moment, waiting to be met. And if you truly meet it, you will find it has no edge, no inside or outside, just this vast openness, within which all things arise and pass like clouds, not separate, not other, just this. There is a simple truth that hides behind all our seeking. We are already where we long to be, but the noise of the mind, the chase for answers, the belief that something is missing, these keep us spinning in circles, never noticing that the treasure has always been here. Dogen's words were not mystical riddles. They were doors, openings into this present moment, into the very texture of being alive. He did not teach us to transcend the world, but to fall into it, to touch the dirt, to hear the wind move through trees, to feel the heartbeat within stillness. That is what it means to be intimate with all things, to no longer resist, to no longer filter, to no longer divide life into spiritual and ordinary. Because nothing is ordinary, not truly, the way sunlight reflects off a puddle, the way silence holds a room, the way your chest rises and falls without effort. These are not mundane. They are miracles, and they were always waiting for your attention. The more we quiet the commentary of the mind, the more we return to this intimacy, not as a feeling, but as a reality. Even the pain, even the grief, can be met from this place. They, too, belong. They, too, are part of the one life flowing through all forms. This is not something to achieve, not something you must fix yourself to attain. You don't need to become worthy. You only need to become quiet enough to hear, and in that quiet, you may notice that nothing has ever been outside of you. The world was never a stranger. It was your own face, reflected in every moment, waiting patiently to be recognized. Study the self is to forget the self. To forget the self is to be enlightened by all things. Dogen Zenji. You are not on the edge of life. You are in the center of it. And when the mind stills, you will see the world is not separate from you. It never was.